Okay, so those are the 10 precepts that we're going to keep. And I have some more to say. These 10 precepts are to do with our bodily conduct and our verbal conduct, if you like. But most of what we're going to be doing in this time is all to do with our mental conduct, to do with our meditation. I have more to say about that, but I'm aware that I've already been speaking for about an hour. And I just want to check if anybody needs to stretch their legs or go to the toilet or have a quick break. Is that something that anybody wants to do, or are we good to continue? If you're good, give me like a great big thumbs up. All right, I can't see everybody clearly, but I think that was everybody I can see. It's good to continue. So we're working to overcome these two forces of craving and aversion in the mind. That's where the suffering lies. That's what's stopping us from seeing the truth. We're keeping the precepts. We're not allowing the craving and the aversion to overwhelm our bodily conduct, to overwhelm our verbal conduct. But what about our mind? What about our mind? So the whole of the Buddha's teachings, all of these many complex teachings on meditation, are all about this topic: how to overcome these forces of craving and aversion in the mind, how to overcome suffering, how to know the truth. All of the Buddhist teachings are about that. But if I had to boil that all that complexity and richness down into just one instruction, it would be this. There's one instruction that I want you all to remember. One instruction that you're not going to forget. One instruction that this whole retreat is going to be about. The whole culture that we're going to build together is going to be all about this one instruction, okay? What is this one magical instruction of the Buddha? Do you want to know? Here's this. Are you listening carefully? It is to sustain your attention. To sustain your attention. We just take a moment to ask ourselves, how long do we usually sustain our attention on something for? How often do we sustain our attention on something for 10 minutes? And here, watching the TV doesn't count. That's not you sustaining your attention. That's the TV momentarily, again and again, forcing you to pay attention. How often do you voluntarily sustain your attention on something? For most people, it's very rare. And if we ask ourselves why we don't sustain our attention, it's because we have a mind overcome by craving and aversion. There's always something else, isn't there, to pay attention to? We're always wanting something else. We're not really deeply content with what we have right in front of us. We don't believe that the end of suffering can be there. And why is it that we don't know the truth? Why is it that we have minds clouded by delusion? We never pay attention for long enough. We pay attention only superficially. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to spend a month practicing. What are we going to do? Somebody tell me.
Sustaining our attention.
Yeah. We're going to sustain our attention. And the whole of meditation is about that. So as we sustain our attention, some things are going to be really important to help us do that. The 10 precepts we've just taken are going to be really important to help us do that. Alongside that, what we call sense restraint is going to be really important. So it means we can't sustain our attention on something if we're looking at other things and listening to other things. And so as much as possible, we want to keep our senses restrained. It means we want to open our eyes only as much as we need to keep our body safe, to see where we are going. It means if there is sound or whispering or something happening, we want to ignore that. When we take our food, we want to sustain our attention on whatever our meditation object might be as much as possible. So restraining the senses, moving our attention away from the outside and towards our meditation object. As we restrain our senses, we might also want to slow down. So, in my personal teaching style, I have no required speed for any of you to do this, to go about your day. But I suggest you all do what you need to do at the speed and in the manner that you can sustain your attention. So it means when you are walking from one place to another, when you are going to the toilet or washing your body, when you are taking your food, when you are doing your yogi job, to do all of those things with your senses restrained and at the speed and in the manner that you can sustain your attention. The final thing that is going to help us to sustain our attention is silence. For those of you who have done a few retreats, you'll be more familiar with a culture of silence and the benefits that it brings. to those of you that this is maybe your first retreat or your first silent retreat, it might be unfamiliar to you at first. Sometimes we feel compelled to speak for what can feel like really compassionate reasons. It might be that we see somebody looking upset, or we want to do something nice for somebody. I would invite you in this time to give each us silence as a gift. It is normal in a meditation retreat that at times people have difficult moments. But those difficult moments are for each of us to work through in our own way. Is what we don't need to interfere with each other in this. If you really feel concerned for another person, then please let me know, or whoever is on managing duty at that time, you can let them know. But please avoid speaking to each other, especially if any of you are sharing rooms. So it can be the time when it's really tempting to speak a little bit, or you want to say, oh, good night, sleep well, or how are you today? So please, out of love and respect for each other, don't do that. Give each other the gift of silence. And if it feels rude, blame me. We will use this silence as an opportunity to sustain our attention. I'm not sure yet if you've spoken through the daily routine, but if you have, then you will notice that on retreats I usually leave the schedule very loose. The reason is that as we sustain our attention, I want us to learn to do that in a way that feels natural to us. So we have a couple of meditation sittings in the day that are compulsory, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. The reason that those two sittings are in the schedule is so that I have the opportunity to speak to you all as a group, and also so that we can make sure that everybody's up in the morning and ready to practice, and everybody's back after lunch and ready to go. But other than that, you're left to meditate in your own rhythm, at your own pace. But when you see here no fixed schedule, I don't want you to understand, oh, well, I don't have to do much meditation. No, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. That unstructured time is there because all the time is meditation time. From waking up until going to sleep, you all have one job, and maybe a yogi job. So, for one main job, which is sustaining your attention. Doesn't matter if you are sitting, if you are walking, if you are drinking some water, whatever activity you are doing, you're sustaining your attention on your meditation object. In other words, I'm inviting us all into a month of continual practice. We're not going to waste a minute. how rare in the life that we have a whole month put aside for the training of our mind. Let us not waste a single minute. And so as we practice continually, I want to encourage you all not to worry about the clock. I'm not interested in how long you can sit still for. It doesn't interest me. I'm interested in for how long can you sustain your attention. Many people, they find it easiest to sustain their attention when they're sitting because the body is still and balanced. So if you find that sitting is really helpful for you to sustain your attention, then gradually you can try to sit for longer. If you notice your body is uncomfortable, it's distracting you, then get up and move your body. But as you move, sustain your attention on your meditation object. If you notice yourself too hot, too cold, grab a blanket, grab a glass of water. But as you do those things, sustain your attention on your meditation object. As we practice in this way, we'll notice all kinds of reasons that our mind doesn't want to sustain the attention on the meditation object. And that's where our learning comes in. That's where I'm going to be spending a lot of time speaking to each of you one-on-one. But for the time being, what I want to encourage you all to do is bring in your investigation there. So if you notice that your mind won't stay with your meditation object any longer, get curious, get interested, get playful. Oh, wow, why? What's my mind doing? What does it want to do that isn't paying attention to this thing? How can I use my wisdom to sustain my attention for a little bit longer? This is where we really learn what meditation is. Up front, I'm going to give you all a couple of clues. So some meditators in the beginning, they try to sustain their attention on their meditation object through forcing, through being a taskmaster, through telling their mind, stay there on that object, don't you move. And I'll tell you all now, I never met a meditator where that method worked for long. It might work for a day or two if you're lucky, but it's not going to work for long. So you can give it a go if you want to try it out for yourself, but I would encourage you all instead to try and sustain your attention through cultivating an attitude of joy and delight and interest in your meditation object by making it for yourself something lovely to be with. So Amy.
The last thing you said was making your meditation object something lovely to do.
Yeah, making our meditation object lovely to be with. So finding ways that it can be interesting to us, delightful to us. And in this way, each of us enters into our own little world, just me and my meditation object, our own little love affair, if you like, just me and my meditation object. No need to worry about others, no need to worry about anything. All we need to be concerned with is our object of attention and bringing the most beautiful quality of attention that we can to that object of meditation. Let me just check if I'm forgetting to say anything. Okay, no, I think I've got it all. So, some of you might be wondering, on what do I sustain my attention? What is this thing that I am supposed to pay attention to all of the time and fall in love with? I'd ignore everything else for a whole month just to pay attention to this thing. And so the answer to that is, it's going to be different for each of you. It's what I don't know yet. So some teachers, they have this way, or maybe this skill that I don't have, of giving the same instruction to the whole group. But I personally, I've never really learned how to do that, because when I teach, what I see is that you are all different with your own inclinations and likes and dislikes and strengths and weaknesses. And so I like to teach people individually, and through listening and sometimes a little bit of trial and error initially, finding the meditation object that works for you. Saying that, no meditation object is easy. Every meditation object will come with some challenges, because training the mind is challenging. But we can ease the path by finding a meditation object that is suitable for us. So throughout this retreat, I will be instructing you all individually. Tomorrow, I'm going to speak to all of you one-on-one, because it's our first day, and then after that I will shift to speaking to each of you every other day. And every morning we will have a group interview session. Some of you will be familiar with group interviews, I think, and some of you, it will be new. So it's not compulsory, the group interview session. But it is there because oftentimes these every other day meditation interviews with me are not enough. Either if your practice is going very well and you want more instruction, or if you're really struggling and it feels like 2 days is a long time to wait, then every morning you can come in that 1 hour, and it's a chance to make sure that we all feel confident for the day with how to continue with our meditation practice. And those group interviews are also a great time to learn from the questions of others. So oftentimes somebody might bring a question that we hadn't realized that we were struggling with as well. And through their question, they do a service to the whole group. And in this way, we all learn a lot. I know in my monastic training, I learned so much through group interviews. So that's available for you all every morning, alongside your personal interviews with me every other day. Your personal interviews with me are not optional. Please turn up. Even if you feel you don't have anything to say or your practice is going well, turn up anyway. It's also for my benefit that I know what is happening with all of you. It's difficult enough by Zoom to stay in touch with the group. So it's important for me that I get this information regularly. So if you feel you don't have anything to say, turn up to your interview anyway and let me know that. So I just have a sense of where you're at. So we're going to start the morning each day with a group sitting. Please turn up to that one as well, alongside it being beneficial that, hello? Yeah, okay. So alongside that, it is really beneficial to all be up and practicing together. The group sittings is also where I will make any announcements that I need to make to the group, or the managers as well can check in with the group as a whole without creating any disruption. So please do turn up to those. And then in our evening sessions, so around this time, we will be having Q&A, question and answer. So the first few question and answer, I'm going to do live. I'm going to see how my body does, because it's like 4 a.m. here, your evening session. So those question and answer sessions in the evening, they are as interesting as you will make them. So any questions are welcome at that time. You can ask questions about meditation, but you can also ask questions about Buddhism in general. You might ask questions about something that you're struggling with, or sometimes we have questions on ethics or Buddhist philosophy. You're also welcome to ask questions about me, because you all don't know me. And usually I answer those questions pretty freely. So if there is anything, any question you would like to ask, then those evening sessions are a chance to do that. And also in the evening, we will take the chance to send loving kindness. And maybe we can make some paper available or something like that. So each day, if there's anybody who we feel needs or wants our loving kindness, it could be somebody present on the retreat or anybody in the world, then we can write those names down. And in our evening sessions as well, we will send our loving kindness to those people as a group. So throughout our time on this retreat, sometimes people like to do what I would call some distracting activities. Some examples of these might be yoga, reading, writing, etc. Things that make it much more difficult, we can say, for us to sustain our attention. So around these things, I'm not making any hard rules, but I leave it with you all to use your own wisdom. Be really honest with yourself. Sometimes we can use these things to really for our benefit, to rebalance the mind, to calm ourselves down in service of our practice. And sometimes it can be that we use those same activities as an escape or a distraction, or I don't know, an escape or a distraction. So Again, I just remind you our time here is really brief. It's going to fly by. It's a very valuable opportunity. We've got a lot of time after this retreat for reading books and writing books and becoming yoga masters. And if you want to do those kinds of things in service of your meditation, you're welcome. But please be honest if you are using those things in unnecessary ways, then I encourage you all to come back to your meditation object. Okay. I think that's all from me for tonight. But before I finish, I want to check that we've understood the main point. So what is the one main job that we all got to do for the month? Can anyone remember? Yeah. And we're going to sustain our attention. Okay, so before we finish, I'm curious to know, is there anybody here who has never done any meditation before and has no practice to start with before they speak to me? Is there anybody here that who's totally new to meditation? I can't see your hands. Anybody? No? Okay, great. So in that case, it means that you're all familiar in one way or another with this practice of sustaining your attention. So I'm going to invite us all to sit together for 5 minutes. And for now, we can meditate in whatever way is familiar to us, whatever way we've practiced before. And in this 5 minutes, as we sustain our attention, we're just going to use the time to digest everything that we've taken in, this big shift of context and culture moving into this 1 month of practice. Use this 5 minutes of sustaining our attention to prepare ourselves for making this our full-time job, to adjust to the silence, to the pace, to the solitude. And I will end our meditation in about 5 minutes by saying ding. Ding. Give us a moment to open our eyes. Come back together. So, as I said, I'll be meeting with each of you individually tomorrow to discuss the details of your personal meditation practice. Leaving that aside, are there any questions? Very reassuring silence. From that, do I understand that we all feel clear and confident about what we should be doing? Yeah? Give me some big thumbs up if that is the case. Yeah, great. Just one thing, really. You know what it is? Good. Okay, so I'm going to hand back to Mel. If there are any more announcements you would like to make for the evening.
Something like in the morning, when you go to get breakfast, it'll be posted the schedule of what time your interviews will be. So when you go to get breakfast, take a look from there. Like for example, I'm at 8:30, and then you'll see who comes in line after that. And if you haven't turned in your cell phone already, you can turn into the office at that time too.
And if you have questions for Beth, the Q&A basket is right there. There's blank pieces of paper and pens, and that'll be checked at least once a day, and a question sent over to Beth.
Where does the personal interview take place?
The personal interviews are going to be in the Kuti trailer. I was thinking I would make a trail from here to the Kuti trailer. From the end of the patio, so the markers to point you in the right direction.
And maybe some markers from the main house.
Maybe I'll put up signs.
It'll be clear by tomorrow.
There will be markers pointing the way, breadcrumbs to follow.
And will there also be posted for the Zoom information, or will it the meetings just be summaries, or what do we do if we have like?
Yes, it should be just on the right, either the Zoom link right there, or it'll already be open if you're coming right after somebody else.
Okay, great. So, do I understand rightly that you are going to do an hour of practice, or is it time for bed there already?
Now this is the end of the evening for tonight.
All right. All right, end of the evening for tonight. So, in that case, we'll sit together for a few minutes to close. But if any of you want to sit longer, you're welcome. If you're so enthusiastic that you want to meditate all night, also welcome. It might be tonight that a few little practical things come into your mind that you need to discuss. If you're sharing a room, it might be that you want to say a few words to each other tonight. So we'll try and get all of these things out of the way before we go to bed. And when we wake up in the morning, we wake up with an intention to maintain silence from then on. Okay, so we're going to sit together just for a few minutes to close with the intention to support each other through the diligence of our own practice, through our silence and attentiveness to our meditation, to support each other in a beautiful month of meditation together. And I will end our short meditation in a few minutes by saying Ding. So if you want to sit for longer, you're welcome. And if you want to go to bed, also welcome. And we'll see each other in the morning for our first group sitting of the retreat. And I will leave you all with Mel if there is anything else that she needs to say. All right. Good night, everybody. See you in the morning.